Okay, so today, new content, new topic. It's called mindfulness of mental quality. So that's the fourth foundation of mindfulness. So some people will translate as mindfulness of the Dhamma, mindfulness of phenomenon, and for Ajahn Jeffrey, he translates as mindfulness of mental qualities. So down here, there's five types. So the first one is going to cover 5 hindrances. Second one, 5 aggregates. The third one, 6 sense media. Fourth is 7 factors of awakening. And the fifth is the 4 noble truths. So this one is arranged in a way, it's like ascending order. First you experience suffering, the 5 hindrances. 5 hindrances are basically the symptoms of suffering. And then you go deeper, you want to investigate the Dhamma behind causing all these 5 hindrances, the 5 clinging aggregates. And the third one, how it operates through the 6 sense media. And once you're able to investigate and see the truth, you're able to let go. Then you have the 7 factors of awakening. And if you proceed further, then you understand the 4 noble truths. So it's arranged in this manner. So this mindfulness of the mental qualities. So just move on. Okay, now we're going to talk about the 5 hindrances. 5 things. 5 things that everybody will have unless you are enlightened. So the first one, sensual desire. That's the first hindrance. Either you have or you don't have. So when we meditate, we always observe whether you have greed. So sensual desire is greed. Whether you're chasing or pursuing after a certain object. So if let's say you want to fix your mind on a meditation theme, that is also a desire. But if it's positive and wholesome, we call this, the Pali word is called chanda. Chanda is positive desire. If it is a negative desire, it is called tanha. So in the 4 noble truths, the cause of suffering is talking about the negative desire, which is tanha, greed, hatred, and delusion. So this is sensual desire. So any form of sensual desire, interestingly, it's classified under unwholesome. Unwholesome. It may not be evil, but it's considered unwholesome. So sometimes there are some terms being translated in a way that is not so applicable for meditation. Some people will translate unwholesome, the Pali word is akusala. Wholesome is called kusala. So some people will translate akusala as evil. Evil. So evil, people will be thinking, oh, must kill, must steal, must rob, must create arson, and that kind of stuff. Then it's evil. Then sometimes people, when they meditate, or they don't meditate, they start to daydream, they start to fantasize or worry, or whatever. They start to stay in the dramas in the mind. And to them it's, hey, that's not evil. What? Yeah, that's not evil. What? But for meditation, that will be unwholesome. It will be a hindrance. If you cling on to the thoughts, to the desires and dramas of the mind, then that will be a hindrance. The first one, sensual desire. Okay, then the second one is okay. So this is the first hindrance, but the 4 points is talking about the 4 right efforts. 4 right efforts. So the first one is being sensual desire present within. Right? If there's no sensual desire, you must know there isn't. Then the second point, he discerns how there is the arising of unarisen sensual desire. So you must know how it arises from no unwholesome states to an unwholesome state. And the third one, he discerns how there is abandoning of sensual desire once it has arisen. Right? So this is part of the right effort. And the fourth one and he discerns how there is no future arising of sensual desire that has been abandoned. So this is perfecting the right effort. So the first two has got to do with taking note of this, how do you call this? So in 4 right efforts, and there are, how do you call this, 2 for unwholesome and 2 for wholesome. So the first right effort would be if there is unwholesome states of mind, you try to overcome it. Second right effort is if there is no unwholesome state of mind, then you should not let it arise. And the third one is if there is wholesome qualities you haven't cultivated, then you kind of generate it. And the fourth right effort is if you already have wholesome kind of qualities, then you should perfect it further. So interestingly, these 4 points is talking about the first two right efforts. So they never mention any wholesome qualities. So they just mention about sensual desire. So the first point over here talks about identifying whether there's sensual desire present or not present. And the second point is understanding how sensual desire arises. And the third point is how to let it go. And the fourth one is abandoning. Right, so this is the 4 points being mentioned here. Okay, then the next one. Okay, so the same applies for all the 5, not just sensual desire, but also anger, sloth, torpor, restlessness of mind, and doubt. And these 5 things. Okay, so the same chorus, same standard formula. You have to observe these qualities internally and externally, or internally and externally. So this is very interesting. So anger, or sorry, greed, if it's present in you, you know, right? But outside, how do you know? Externally. So there are 2 different interpretations. One interpretation would be within the mind, that is internally, and externally is what you see outside. Yeah, maybe a new watch, a new phone, a new car, something you want. Then that is external, right? Okay, then the next point, you focus on the phenomenon of origination of, how do you call this, regard to mental qualities, phenomena of arising and passing. So this is the key step of detachment. You have to observe how it arises and pass away. And the third step, or is mindfulness, their mental qualities is maintained. Okay, so this one very interesting. If a person is able to do the 4th step, which is you abandon this sensual desire, then it's a bit hard to observe how it arises because it's gone. So this one is a very advanced level. So only an anagami, a non-returner, can overcome or have no more sensual desire. Yeah? So if it's totally abandoned, only a 3rd stage of enlightenment onwards, then you have no more sensual desire. So at this point of time, just keep observing how it arises and pass away. Okay, then we move on, next one. Any questions so far with the 5 hindrances? Okay, so I've covered sensual desire. So the next point we're going to cover is this I never mentioned all the 5, very interesting. Okay, next one is anger. So there is a short-term solution and a long-term solution. So the short-term solution for sensual desire, in our routine, we use the impurities of the body meditation, and also impermanence. So impermanence will help to detach this sensual desire. Yeah. And the long-term solution would be if a person reach this non-returner or arahant. And for anger, there's a second hindrance. For anger, that would be loving kindness. Use short-term solution, loving kindness to suppress or overcome this anger, aversion. And if you want to talk about long-term solution, also become it to this non-returner and higher. So that's a long-term solution. So the third hindrance would be restlessness, restlessness of the mind. So for restlessness of the mind, a person needs to develop equanimity as a short-term means to overcome restlessness. But for the long-term solution, restlessness can be only overcome by an arahant. So if a person is fully enlightened, then you do not have a restless problem. So restlessness and worry is together. So if you meditate and the mind likes to run here and there, and some people will be thinking, my mind always run around. I'm not suitable for meditation. So which is not true. Because if a person has no issues with restlessness, then they are enlightened. Then you don't need to come for this class anymore. Okay, so very normal for the mind to run away. So once your mind runs, our job is just to come back to the reflection, come back to our contemplation. Come back to our right mindfulness, come back to the evidence, and keep on repeating. So that's the idea. So the whole idea is to strengthen, or how do you call it, practice, and discover a purer state of mind. So why is an arahant overcoming restlessness? Because they have a state of mind that is so contented that even though the mind is functioning, they have the sixth sense kind of consciousness, but they unlock a new state of mind that is always peaceful. So that's how they overcome restlessness. It's not that their mind don't think or their mind just stay at one spot and don't move. No, they still have the six senses. They need to move around. They still think, but they unlock a new state of mind. So it's like passively operating together at the same time. So this is what we're training. So if the mind run around in your meditation, just bring the mind back to the right reflection. So even right now, even if you're attending to the class, the mind is sort of running around. That's why we always train people to multitask. So the first lesson of this mindfulness, we talk about being mindful in all your activities, standing, sitting, walking, lying down, eating, talking. Also need to be mindful of impermanence. Always come back to your reflection. Learning to multitask, because the so-called awakened mind, the new kind of consciousness, is actually supposed to multitask. It's meant to multitask along with other functions. So this comes back to the philosophy during the Buddha's time. When the Buddha was still searching for enlightenment, the first two ascetic teachers he met, they believe in freezing the karma. That's their philosophy. Stealing the mind alone, that is their ultimate happiness. So if you steal everything, it doesn't work. You still need to move around, still need to go toilet, still need to eat, still need to think. So you can't have ultimate stillness in all the time. So that's why he abandoned the first group of teachers and he went to the other school of thought, which is to torture yourself, to burn away all the karma. So that also doesn't work. So basically the Buddha's middle way is actually crossing the other shore, to abandon the first shore. It's not to clean up the first shore. If you arrange everything neatly in the first shore, it's still subject to decay, subject to impermanence. So the Buddha's discovery is actually to go to the other shore, right? To abandon the current shore. Yeah? So that is for restlessness. That's the hindrance. And the opposite of restlessness would be sloth and torpor. So sloth and torpor would be this sluggishness of mind, wanting to sleep. So the short-term solution would be this whole range. I think I gave an example before of this Venerable Moggallana. Before he got enlightened, he was nodding and sleeping in meditation. So the Buddha came by and kind of give him some advice. So if you experience a drowsy feeling, drowsy sensation, avoid it. Do not pay attention to the drowsy feeling. So in our meditation, I always ask you to observe all the sensations, 4 elements, yeah. But in terms of states of mind, you should avoid drowsy feeling. Any strong emotion, try to avoid, because that is very strong addiction. Because once you pay attention to the sluggish or sleepy kind of feeling, then the mind will be dragged away. Confirm is like 99% chance you'll go to sleep. So the whole idea is to avoid. That means do not pay attention to the sleepy feeling. That means pay attention to investigate other dhammas. That means investigate the 4 elements, investigate other things. But do not pay attention to the sleepy feeling. So that was the first advice to Venerable Moggallana. But if that doesn't work, then you should have Dhamma discussion in the mind. Dhamma discussion. That means have a Dhamma talk in your mind, have a mental debate. And if that still doesn't work, you fall asleep, then you should recite the scriptures. That means come remember any kind of chanting, then you kind of repeat the chant. And if that still doesn't work, fall asleep. So for Venerable Moggallana, his advice is to visualize the light, visualize bright light, so that will keep the mind awake. So in our class, we don't really do that, because if you do it for a prolonged period, one may, for example, accidentally activate the divine eye, and one may not see very pleasant things. Yeah? So it may not be suitable for everybody. So we kind of avoid this in our class. And if, let's say, seeing the bright light doesn't work for Venerable Moggallana, then he move on to other grosser kind of solutions, like pulling the ear, washing the face, and looking at the stars and stuff like that. If that still doesn't work, then the last resort, or close to the last resort, is walking meditation. Walking meditation. And if, let's say, you still walk and still can fall asleep, that means that is exhaustion, real exhaustion, and you should lie down, lie down mindfully. So that's the advice given by the Buddha. And that's for the short-term solution. So like restlessness and worry, which is come together with this sloth and torpor as a pair, only an Arahant can overcome this kind of problem. So some people interpret as, or enlightened being don't need to sleep one. Enlightened being don't need to sleep one. Yeah, actually, they still sleep, just that they activated this new kind of consciousness, which is like always there, which is not subjected to arising and passing. Okay, and the last one is doubt. So the 5th hindrance is doubt. So for doubt, that is the short-term solution is to ask questions. If you have any doubt, ask questions to the speaker, to the teacher, to solve the doubt. And if that still doesn't work, then you may need to look for other teachers to explain. And for the long-term solution, so doubt can be overcome by the first stage of sainthood. So if a person has experienced the Four Noble Truths, have a glimpse of the Four Noble Truths, they reduce craving, experience this internal happiness, internal peace, then that would clear all the doubts of the spiritual path. So they know there's a higher form of happiness, a spiritual kind of happiness, and that is the eye-opener for them. Yeah? So that is the 5 hindrances. Any questions at this point?
I have a question.
Okay.
Just now, Phra Goh mentioned if we have drowsiness, can have like a discussion in our head, but won't that have like kind of like, won't that impact mindfulness? Or if like chanting do a chanting,
Yeah.
will it not actually doesn't lead to mindfulness of the breath? If let's say our practice is like the Maha Satipatthana, which is actually focused on the breath. So I'm just
correct.
trying to, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so the first protocol, the first answer was to be mindful of the investigation of the Dhamma. So that is probably related to the meditation or your initial meditation object. So if that first plan fails, the first protocol fails, then the next one in line would be this Dhamma talk in the mind. So that is more like investigating, not really investigating, it's arouse energy, to arouse some energy. And if that still doesn't work, then do the chanting.
So can I just clarify, right? So for example, sometimes during my meditation,
Yeah.
for some reason, sometimes just one paragraph of certain chanting keep appear in the mind. Like it doesn't go away. Like sometimes it can be, it's a bit like a catchy song keep playing in your brain for no reason, right? So sometimes it just happen. If that happen, I find it very difficult to say stop the chant and focus on the breath. Like the mind, I feel that my mind split, and that result in the sitting becoming very restless. So if let's say that happen, will it be acceptable? For example, okay, my mind just happened to have this one line of chanting that keep repeating itself, then I use that as an object, replacing the breath for a while until when I try to go back and focus on my breath again, then I can actually focus on the breath. Or is it actually better not to do that and just try to focus on the breath?
Yeah, this is a very good point. So if let's say your intent is to specialize on the breath, and if let's say the chant keep appearing, then I think it's good to have a reflection, to say, like our initial phase in our meditation is always to wish it well and happy. So you kind of wish whatever formations, whatever thoughts well and happy, you make peace in them. But if you're already on the phase of impermanence, then whatever thoughts appear, whatever memories that surface, we just kind of reflect that it's impermanent. It's impermanent because that's the law of impermanence. Everything is impermanent. The thoughts, the memories are not self. You cannot control. It's not you purposely generate one, right? Yeah, so it's not self. It's not you. Yeah, so that is part of the 3 universal characteristics. First, it is impermanent. It is unsatisfactory in nature. If you try to control it, then you create a lot of stress. And why you cannot control? Because it is not truly self. It is not truly you. If it is truly you, means you have 100% control. Yeah, but it's not you. The thoughts just play by its own. Yeah, so it's not self. So it's very normal. It's very normal. So you need to reflect to make peace with it. Then that's how you come back to the breath. So that is one way. But if let's say you lost the breath completely, you cannot feel the breath or you feel sluggish, so this is where you go to the chanting. If let's say you feel sluggish, But if you're not sluggish, then you can do the reflection of impermanence, come back to the breath. But if you are already very sluggish, you watch the breath, can fall asleep, then yeah, it's good to do the chanting, just follow the chanting, yeah. Keep repeating the chant. But if following the chanting can fall asleep, then you need to do something else, yeah. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, any other questions?
Bante, can I ask something?
Okay.
Just now you mentioned that to tame restlessness or worry is with equanimity, right?
Yeah, correct.
Can you explain or give examples like how equanimity, like what kind of things that we should think of to tame the restlessness or the worry?
Okay, very good point. So there are probably multiple methods to reach equanimity. Things like a person already reached, for example, the jhanas, the third and fourth jhana onwards, and they have some equanimity, or they, or you want to talk about a ground-up approach, we use the reflection of karma. So in our routine, we always do the four sublime states. So in the fourth sublime state, we use the reflection of karma. So all pleasant, unpleasant stimuli, any kind of contact, we call this ripening of good and bad karmas. Any pleasant feeling appearing, that's due to good karmas ripening. Any unpleasant feeling appearing, then that's due to bad karmas ripening. And any neutral feeling appearing, then that's due to neutral karmas ripening. So we kind of observe the here and now, moment to moment sensations. We don't go and speculate, oh yeah, in the past I must have done this or that. So we don't over dramatize. Yeah. So that will help the mind to make peace. So it's a very micro, very fast kind of observing these karmas until the mind will make peace. If it's too long, and if let's say a person think of a story, think of a drama, then too draggy, you get caught up in the story, then end up you get more emotional sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Any other issues? Other questions?
In most situations, people attain the extreme entry, right? Please correct if they study the Dhamma, practice a bit of bhavana, sila, they still can attain the extreme entry.
Yeah, correct. So that depends on how familiar are they with the emotion of contentment. Yeah, if they are addicted to sensual or material kind of pleasures, then it will take longer time for them to practice, to realize. But if they are more inclined towards contentment, then it's easier to detach.
That means you have to be on the easy type, as most things are concerned, right? You cannot be so rigid or holding tight to any situation.
Yeah, so the only way to do that is to keep reflecting, have right reflection every moment. Don't wait until the thing happens, then then you do not have the tools, do not have the enough fuel, do not have enough power to overcome it. So you need to prepare beforehand.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Okay, if there's no more questions, then we have a 5-minute break. Then we come back for this guided meditation. Okay, so the 5-minute time is already up. Hopefully the rest have returned. So I think we can go ahead with the guided session. So for those who returned, please turn on the camera to indicate you're around. Okay. Alright, so you find a comfortable sitting posture, make sure our back is upright and the rest of the body relaxed. Okay, and we are going to observe the detachment of the body, mindfulness of the impurities of body meditation. So we're going to first visualize all the hairs of the head, hairs of the body. Because today's theme is on the mindfulness of the Dhamma, the states of mind. So when you think of the image of the hairs, they observe what kind of hindrance. Is there greed? Is there anger? Is there restlessness? Or do you kind of over dramatize the hairs? So the mind running wild is actually very normal. So what we need to do is stay in the middle path. The currents, the waves and currents of the craving in the ocean is sure have fun. We are not stopping the currents, we are actually rowing across to the other shore. So we are not trying to steal the currents, we are not going to split the ocean into half or anything. So what we are doing is we are going to generate right thought. We are rowing the boat. We are going to wish the hairs well and happy. So when a new image appears, new patch of hair, then we wish the hairs well and happy. New patch of hair well and happy. So the whole idea is when you're doing the meditation, you're not creating any form of tension or suffering. Some people, the more they meditate, the more stress, the more frowning, more agitation, because too much craving. So the right view here is to learn to reduce craving, reduce clinging, reduce stress. So you need to generate the right thought. Wish all the hairs well and happy. And I can observe the state of mind. Is it getting calmer or getting more agitated? Okay, so if the boat has picked up momentum, that means the mind is relatively calm, and it kind of like have a limit to the calmness. So we call this the baseline emotion. So you come down to a certain point where you cannot come down any further, and this baseline emotion is the minimum requirement for insight. And now we're going to think of impermanence. So that's the key exercise of this mindfulness. We need to be mindful of impermanence. So observe all these hairs growing and falling. All the hairs are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and death. So we keep looping this cycle. Hairs growing, hairs falling, hairs growing, hairs falling. Many, many, many cycles. And then you can experiment with the speed of this process. If too fast, does it lead the mind to too restless, or too slow, it leads to too much daydreaming. So you need to find your own right moderate speed. So everybody have different speed, or sometimes different occasions you have different speed. So we keep to just the hairs growing and falling, don't have to over dramatize, don't have to think until the hair salon or who cut your hair, or what kind of conditioner you use, just hairs growing and falling, yeah? And the key objective is to observe this sense of clinging, sense of tension, sense of suffering. Is it reduced? Is it increasing? Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? And the next thing we can think of is the nails, fingernails and toenails, and we wish them well and happy. And all these nails go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of the nails growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can observe the arising and passing of this clinging. Is it increasing or decreasing? So if you feel more joyful or feel lighter, feel more peaceful, that means you're on the right track. If you get more tension, more anxiety, that means something is wrong. And we can also observe the hindrances. So this is the symptom of suffering. Are the hindrances present or absent? Is it increasing or decreasing? Are you greatly hindered or less hindered? And we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? Okay, next we can think of the teeth, all the teeth inside the mouth. May they be well and happy. So interestingly, whatever reflection that doesn't have anything to do with impermanence, the sense of self, the sense of clinging will return. So you must observe the difference. So this is the samatha phase of this Asubha meditation. And all these teeth are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we think of the teeth growing and falling, many cycles. Even though the teeth fall off twice only, we just keep on repeating. This is just a mental detachment exercise. Don't have to over-imagine also. And the teeth fall off, so much blood, so painful. Don't have to overdo it. Just think of teeth growing and falling. And then we can observe these hindrances. Are they increasing or decreasing? If let's say you over dramatize, that means that's part of restlessness. Any dramatization in the mind, then that's got to do with also clinging, clinging to sensuality. So the 5 hindrances are kind of related. Certain craving for the story, you want to be part of the story, and the mind will come with the dramas, and then once you're too deep, then you fall asleep. So the whole idea is not to go deep into the story, always pull back to the meditation theme, teeth growing, teeth falling. Yeah? So this is the minimum visualization. Don't have to go anything further. Teeth growing, teeth falling. And we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? Can we tell the teeth not to go through this birth and death? So with impermanence, there should be lesser clinging. Then what kind of emotion is that? What kind of state of mind? We take note. And now we go back to think of the skin. So we are going to wish all the skin well and happy. So without impermanence, you observe how the mind gets heavier. So a heavy mind is the mind with some clinging. Huh? Every patch of skin, wish them well and happy. Okay, and all the skin are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So you think of them growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping this process, we can observe these hindrances. Are they increasing or decreasing in intensity? Okay, then we can ask ourselves, are the skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through this birth and death? And the next phase of meditation, we are going to familiarize ourselves with the 4 element sensations. So there's no need to visualize anymore. So we're just going to feel the sensations. Basically, they are the real-time evidence. No need to imagine. Don't have to deliberately generate any sensation. Let it appear by itself. So these are the 4 elements: earth, fire, wind, water elements. Earth represents any hard or soft sensations. Fire is hot and cold. Wind is fast, slow movements. And water is moist or dry sensations. And there's also no need to crack your brain to figure out which element does this sensation belong to. These are just general guidelines. In short, whatever sensation appear, we make peace with them. We wish them well and happy. So the only thing that we deliberately wish is the loving kindness part. Everything else is just observation. New sensation appear, wish it well and happy. New sensation appear, may they be well and happy. So we always be mindful of the hindrances. Come back to the 4 element sensations as the right mindfulness, as the foundation. And if the conditions are right, the mind should be able to come down again back to the baseline emotion. So the baseline is neutral, no jhanas, no vipassana, and we use that to compare with other states of mind later. So we kind of take note of the emotion. Okay, so now we are going to wish all beings in all directions well and happy, above, below, and all across. So this is expanded mind. So we just make a gentle wish, no need to push or force the mind. However far the mind wishes to extend doesn't matter. And in that widened sphere of attention, whatever sensation that you may detect, we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So we don't visualize, we treat all beings as the 4 elements. Whatever sensation that we detect, we are going to wish all beings well and happy. So the mind is very impermanent. So if you apply all the right conditions, it will transform into another state of mind. And if the conditions are right, you have all the right effort, right thought, everything, it will trigger this right concentration. So the symptom of this concentrated mind, normally in the first level of concentration, will have an increment of joy and happiness compared to the neutral baseline emotion. And regardless of what happened, keep on reflecting on wishing all beings well and happy. Some people think, oh, the mind already in this peaceful state and just relax and don't do anything. Because the mind is very impermanent. Once you do not plant in the cause only, you do not plant the seed, you do not row the boat, then very fast the effects will be lost. So there's always active thinking. We call this right thought, right effort. Okay, then we can add some insight, some wisdom, and we're going to reflect on impermanence. So this is the mindfulness portion, so all the sensations, we observe how they arise and pass away. And to help you have this wakefulness, you need the right thought, you need to label impermanence, or you can label arising and passing. Okay, let's say the joy and happiness start to fade away, start to disappear. One may experience this neutral and refreshing kind of emotion, and we call that equanimity, normally associated with the fourth level of concentration. And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Okay, then we move on to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we are going to wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. And using the non-discrimination approach, all beings, regardless of their wealth, rich or poor, or their health, sick or healthy, as long as they cling on to the aggregates, they cling on to the sensations, that will result in stress and suffering. So whenever we detect any sensation, we are going to wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. So we stick to the evidence-based, the sensations, do not dramatize. Conventional compassion will have us worry for people. How to help this person, how to help that person, is he okay, is she okay? So that is actually part of restlessness and worry, part of the hindrances. So in order to cultivate this sort of middle way, or more, how to call it, wisdom kind of compassion, try not to dramatize. We come back to the sensations, may all beings be free from suffering. In daily life, we can worry as much as we want, that's very draining, but now we learn to recharge. How to truly have compassion, including yourself. So if you overdrain and burn out and have depression, that is not compassion. So the labeling is to wish all beings well and happy. Come back to the sensations, that's the right mindfulness. And keep repeating, that's part of right effort. And if you start to feel joyful for your compassion, then that would be the indicator for the second level of concentration. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing all beings free from suffering. Okay, then we're going to add some wisdom, some insight. We're going to reflect how to overcome this suffering, which is not to cling on to the aggregates, not to cling on to the sensations. So we're going to use the reflection of impermanence to shake off this clinging. So every moment keep on reflecting on impermanence. Okay, let's say the joy and happiness start to disappear. Instead of experiencing equanimity like before, one may experience this kind of blank or spacious kind of experience, and we call that the perception of infinite space for those who have the right conditions. And we call that the perception of infinite space, yeah? And regardless of what you experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Okay, so no matter how blank or how empty you may experience, keep on reflecting on impermanence. Do not hang on to the peacefulness. The mind will drift, and we call that a hindrance also. Huh? Okay, and due to time constraint, same gentle reminder in all activities, standing, sitting, walking, lying down, one can be mindful of impermanence. And with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, informally still can generate right thought. Okay, any questions or issues from anybody? All okay, all good? Okay, if there's no issues, then we can do the dedication of merit if you want, yeah? So we didn't do the opening chant, but we have a closing chant. Okay, so we can do this Anumodana. Akasata ca Bhumata Devanaga Mahidika Punyang tang anumoditva Chirang rakantu loka sasanang Etawata ca amhehi Sampadang punya sampadang Sabbe deva, sabbe bhuta, sabbe satta anumodantu, sabba sampati siddhya. And the dedication of merits to departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. And aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavanibbana patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, and we end off by paying respects to the Buddha by bowing 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, and any announcements from Terence?
Yeah, only the gentle reminder is next week will be a closed session, and the online session will start after New Year. Okay, Bante?
After New Year, which is which date?
Chinese New Year. The last week.
Oh, last week, huh? So last week of Feb, lah.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So that means 2 weeks of break.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So we
on the 27th.
okay. So 27. Yeah. So the 6th of Feb will be the last. So okay, one of the okay. All right. The next lesson will be the 6th Feb. All right. So see you all next week then. Good night.